Good morning. This is Sunday, one of the last weekends in April, or the third weekend in April. But I have heard rumblings that the HOA wants to know what I'm doing with my lots, why I'm tearing my lots up, why the lots are all tore up, and why I'm doing so much work with my landscaping. This is why. You see that water leak right there? That's from the 6 o'clock cycle. I got out to walk the dog this morning and there it was. All this water is leaking from somewhere on this lot. Okay? Somewhere on this lot, water's leaking. Now, the rumblings I've been hearing is people don't want it. Everybody wants to know what I'm doing to improve my lots, why I've got my lots all tore up. First of all, let's start with the first lot. All right? Let's start with the first lot. Okay? All my lots have been in work. All my lots have been in work since last spring. Or since September, well, last spring, in fact. On the 4th of July, I was working out here at 6 o'clock in the morning to clear that rock of gravel, sand, and rock, and to try to get all the landscaping material off it. I had plastic, I had tarps, I had tar paper, all to try to keep the water draining to the street and off the lot so the lot wouldn't absorb it. Okay? I started right after the last storm. The last big storm we had was March 13th, 2020. That was a huge storm. It lasted 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes, the amount of water that came down overwhelmed everything. It overwhelmed Tract A. It overwhelmed my lots. Well, anyway, during that storm, I found out all the work I had done for the last 5 years up to that point still wasn't getting the water off the lots. Okay? Now, what started all this work project, and you're looking at it right now, was a leak. Every one of these lots in the community had the builder's special reflective environments, builder's special emitter system, irrigation system for plants. Well, the one that got me started and initiated all my digging on this one, not only did I know at the same time that we had that big storm, just after that big storm, I started getting leaks right through here, feeding these plants. You got to understand, the Architectural Committee should understand, and the HOA should understand, that this original system put in here is like the arteries in an old body. It's 15 years now. We can have aneurysms in these old half-inch and quarter-inch lines that feed the plant. They've been there through thick and thin, through sometimes we've had a couple of frosts over the 15 years where they're shallowly deep. But anyway, they give out. So what started my original project was to find the 3 leaks on this yard. I found them. I fixed them. And while I was at it, I pulled back all the plastic and tar paper that was covering it that I did the job about 5 years ago. Also, I ordered some rock, the Sundance blend, from a vendor here, the only vendor that sells it, and about 2 years ago, and it was so filled with sand and gravel, no rock, very little rock, a lot of sand and gravel. So I pulled up all this rock, and all this rock you're looking at right now has gone through a sifter. It's gone through a sifter. It's been removed and replaced. The only part that hasn't been done is right here, this little triangle here, from there to stoop. You see that walkway from there to the street? Well, now you can continue to keep rumbling and sending threats and stuff like that to me. But this has to be tore up. And I'm going to start tearing it up today. Why? Because of this water leak. That's what started this project right here, was 2 big water leaks. Now, let's go over. That took me to about August or September. That work right there took me to August or September. I was out here early in the morning on summer days, like I'm out this morning. Now we'll go to this side of the lot. This lot was in work for about 2 or 3 months. It was tore up. Everything was tore up. I was doing everything single hand, trying to do everything single hand. But the big reason we had to do this lot is because of the way the builder graded the lot. The builder graded the lot so the lot did not give up any water to the street until it had 2 or 3 inches on it. Once it got a 2 or 3 inch lake on the lot, then it started draining onto the street. I fixed it. We had an outside contractor. But this was shared work. I did the work, and my neighbor here, who's a landlord, put in very little money. He didn't give me shit, all right? I did all the labor up across his patio. I'll send you video. I'm going to send you video of the puddle he used to get in front of his house. I fixed it. I engineered it. I fixed it. Me and my worker did it ourselves. He had nothing to do with it. Now, during that time, for 2 months, 3 months, that I was doing all this work and I had this opened up, I got no letters from the HOA. Nothing. I never got a letter when I was working on this for 3 months. This was all last year, right up until I was working on this from about April or May to August, between those 2 houses. And I'll tell you right now, all the rock that you see that I showed you is sifted rock. There's no sand or gravel for plants to grow in, for weeds to start in, and the sand and gravel aren't going to inhibit or impede water running off the lot. Now I've got this graded, I've got water levels, I graded this properly so the water now will run off the lot. After 3 months of work of having this open and not hearing anybody say anything to me, because they weren't going to say anything to me because this landlord made them understand that he's fixing my lot. He's fixing my lot, leave him alone, don't say anything to him. Once he gets this lot done, then you can tee off on him and start. All right? So now we've got 2 lots, but I've got a leak somewhere between here and that sidewalk. And I had planned to pull all this rock back. Now we're going to go to the 3rd lot. I started this about 2 weeks ago. First of all, I want to tell you, and I'm going to send you the documentation, and I'm going to send you a lot of video on why this house is out of compliance. But I want to let you know right there. See that house right there? It doesn't comply. It's out of compliance with the CC&Rs. If you include the grading maps for the community grading maps, and the permitting process, if you agree with that and understand how it works, this house was sabotaged at the time the permit was got to get the pad laid and to build the house. At the time the permit was gotten to the house, the builder had lowered the elevation 3 inches. And the permitter who signed the permit in downtown Buckeye, this local signature, didn't check to make sure that the elevation of this house matched the community master grading plan. So this house is 3 inches low. Now I'm going to try to explain to you the lien that's on this house. You keep threatening my house. Every letter it seems like I get from a lawyer or the HOA, Caroline Clinton. Caroline Clinton doesn't have a clue what's taking place here. Now, you're going to see I'm going to walk up on a golf ball. Last night, that golf ball wasn't there. This is what happens day in and day out. If you see that big picture window right there, that big picture window is only 1 layer of glass. The outer layer of glass got broken 2 years ago by a golf ball that came from the 5th fairway. You see that light pole over there? Well, right behind that light pole and behind those houses is the 5th fairway. And somebody hit a ball from the 5th fairway and took out that window. Okay? Now, getting back to out of compliance. This house is 3 inches out of compliance. It's 3 inches low. Note 4 on the opening page of the grading document. It's about a 60, 70 page document. It covers the whole front 9. See that golf ball right there? That came in this morning. That came in was this morning. And on a busy day, I could get 5 or 6 of those in my yard. On a busy day, when you sell 250 rounds and there's 2 groups waiting on every tee box to tee off, I'm going to get 5 or 6 balls like that in my yard. Now, about this window. I don't have the insulation value. I couldn't afford to replace it. That's like an $800 window to replace. And most of it is labor. Okay? And I don't have any way of protecting it from golf balls that come from there. If you look at the light pole and that house with the solar panel, well, right where the solar panels on that far distant house behind the light pole, let's zoom in on it, is the tee box. It's the tee box. And when the wind is blowing this way out of the northeast, strong and cold in the morning, any error, any mishit, any spin that's put on the ball, right to left spin, and the ball is landing on 233rd Drive. The ball lands on 233rd Drive with a lot of force. It was hit by a gorilla, a young 250-pound musclehead that just crushed it, but it leaked to the right. Plus it had a left to right wind pushing it over onto 233rd. This window got taken out. At the time it got taken out, nobody was on the golf course. The lady that was home said it sounded like a gunshot when it hit. She immediately brought me the golf ball. I went out on the golf course, nobody there. So I had to wait 10 minutes for the group to come down. And then when the group come down, they were all laughing. And when I approached them with the golf ball and said, "Who hit this?" all of them said, "We didn't." This is the character. This is the honesty. This is the West Valley golfer. Your typical Buckeye West Valley golfer. We can get up there and crank and grip and rip, but if we make a mistake and break a window, we don't know nothing about it. This has been happening here at Buckeye at Sundance for 15 years. Now, this house, because it's 3 inches low, I have a builder's lien against the house. The town has a lien against me on this house. The HOA has a lien against me on this house. I have a lien because the sewer pipes are out of compliance with the master plan. Sewage utility, the sewer utility that I pay my bill, and my bill is adjusted to what I use. Okay? You see that clean out right there? I'm working around it. I got to get all this cleaned out and plumbed and reshaped. And this rock you're looking at, this pile of rock that's going to go back on top, I'm putting landscape fabric down. And that's another thing. Everywhere that I put down rock, there's landscape fabric. So I'm never going to... What you're looking at right now was done in the last 2 or 3 days. Every bit of this stone right here, it won't go through a ½ inch. It's nothing but pure stone rock drainage. And we've been careful about, as we put down the fabric, to make sure that it has a positive drop away from the patio in my house. This house has a lien on it. I can't sell it. Every time a realtor looks at the house, the first thing I want to tell them is that the house is built wrong. It's out of compliance with the master plan. All right? It has a lien against it. It has a performance lien against it. Somebody downtown And somebody at Meritage 16 years ago, when they got that permit, decided that he doesn't need that extra 3 inches of gravity. All right. Meritage, as far as my sewage system goes, Meritage sold me a club-footed child. It's like a club-footed child. They sold me a finished floor elevation that was 3 inches low. And that 3 inches right there determines the pitch, the speed at which sewage runs from the house onto the street. Now, this is an operational issue that has to be told to the new buyer. The new buyer has to know that the house was built wrong as far as the sewage system, that he didn't get the proper angle to the street. I used the term, I don't offend anybody, but when Meritage sold me this house, it was like they delivered a baby to me after a year. After I signed the contract, but the baby they delivered to me, this is the baby that I ordered. We had about 10 months gestation when I took possession of this house. Nobody told me, nobody, the builder or nobody told me that this house was deficient as far as the finished floor elevation. Nobody told me that they built it out of compliance with the finished floor elevation stated on in the grading map. Okay? I just want to let you know, this job, I haven't done anything really to alter the appearance of my yard, except to get off all the old polluted rock. I call it pollution. When you fill rock with sand and gravel and pea gravel, that's what you get. But this is why I'm doing this, okay? I'm making a video to let you know I'm not changing the appearance of my yard. And what has to be done. Now, another thing is, because of this, we started this conversation with leaky pipes. Because I have the original builder special irrigation system on all 3 lots, they're all starting to leak. They're all producing leaks. That 1/2 inch plastic line that they put under there just below the surface is getting old. It produces aneurysms, all right? And we have an aneurysm now. We have a leak. So please, do not send me any letters about my yard while I'm digging it up and fixing leaks and improving the drainage. I've been here 15 years. I haven't missed a payment. I'm fined all the time. Probably one of the most fined people, and got more letters in my file than anybody that's been here for 15 years. I'll tell you what else. I'm also, as an individual, I've paid more in dues than anybody here. I owned that house, and that house for about 10 years. And for 10 years, I paid all the HOA fees, all the fines, everything on it. So, what other members of the community maybe had one. I had 2 empty houses that were restricted on who I could rent it to. I had to get approval for whoever I rented it to. On that house and that house, I was living in that. So I had 2 empty houses and I was paying all the HOA fees and fines. Okay? HOA fines. Fines for doing something to my lot, for fixing the drainage in my lot. We haven't even talked about the backyard. You try to digest what I'm saying today. The board, the architectural committee, and one more thing I'd like to talk about in this neighborhood. You see those 2 trees right there? You see how they overhang? You see how they overhang the sidewalk? That's encroachment. Now, what's going to happen this year is that sidewalk underneath that tree and underneath the shade out into the road is going to be painted white. Painted white with bird crap. The birds get shade in the tree, they live in the tree, they stay there for shade, and every time they go to take off, they crap. And that whole sidewalk is covered for crap. I don't see why the architectural committee isn't sending things saying, trim that tree. Get it to a manageable height and keep the bird crap off the sidewalk. These are our sidewalks. The same thing with this tree right here. That tree right there protects the windows of that house. Okay? That's why they won't cut it. They won't trim it. Trees aren't supposed to be higher than the houses. Look at this tree. They're allowing it to stay that way because it protects the windows of this house. We don't care if the sidewalk gets painted with bird shit all summer long. That everybody that uses the sidewalk has to walk through 15 feet, 20 feet of bird shit every time they go for a walk on the sidewalk. But that tree right there, I don't understand why the architectural committee isn't doing something about this. This is all through the neighborhood. We can't have tree houses for birds. We can't have bird houses. We're not supposed to feed the birds, but you're providing a bird house right there over a common sidewalk where birds are going to shit on it. I'll wait in about 3 months. I'll come out with the camera again. You're going to see it's all painted white over there. Our sidewalk, our community sidewalk. I'm done for today.